So, hello friends. So today's topic is the service. Okay. So service. So what is service? So service is if you want to give the access of the application inside the pod. Okay. So and that access you want to give to the public. Okay. So then we have to use any of the service. Okay. So if public want to use our applications, right? So there should be a communication medium. Okay, so that channel is of the service. Okay, it is provided by the service. Okay, so there are three types of the service. Okay, so one is node port, the second one is load balancer, and the third one is the cluster IP. Okay, so first, we will see the node port service. Okay. So in the node port service, okay. So for external, uh, so for so in the case of node port, okay. So node means node, and our port means the port on the node. Okay. So if you see this picture, okay, so here is the incoming request coming from the users, those who will be accessing the application inside the pod. Okay. So to provide those access to this incoming request, we can use the node port service. Okay. So here you can see this is our cluster, and in that cluster our node port is giving access to the incoming request, and here you can access the pod through this service. Okay, so uh, this is about the node port. Okay, so same like is means there is a one port. Okay, so that port with that port on the node. Okay, we can access the application inside the app. Okay, then there is a our load balancer. Okay, so it is also the same like node port, but here in this case, when you apply the service file, okay, to create the service, then that time a load balancer is created. Okay, so whenever you apply the this service file of the load balancer, then that time load balancer will be created. So you can means the public can be access the application inside the pod by using the load balancer URL in this case. Okay, so uh, so actually there are no three ports. Okay, in the service. Okay, so if you see this picture, no, so this is our client. Okay, so from client we will be accessing some URL, HTTP, and the IP address and the port. Okay, so there are three ports. Okay, the target port, okay, the service port, and the node port. Okay, so what is the target port? Okay, so this is the target port. If you can see, this is the target port. So target port is the port on which the container is nothing but actually your application runs on which port. Okay, so target port is the that port on which your container is running. Like so, if you are using the Nginx application, then in that case your target port will be 80 because that application runs on the 880 port. Okay, so similar. So this is the port on which your actual application is running. Okay, so target port is clear, right? Then there is a service port. Okay, so this is the service port. Okay, so here we can see that this is the target port, one number. Okay, then there is a service port. So whenever you create any service, okay, service either you create node port or any load balancer service. Okay, so that time this service port will be created. Okay, so this service port enables the communication between the node port and the target port. Okay, So to connect that port, this service, so to connect this target port, okay, this service port enables the node port to connect to the target port. Okay, so to access this application, you need to cross target port, right? So this node port have to cross the service port to access the application inside this pod through the target port. Okay, so service port will access through the internal target port, right? Okay, so and then the third one is the node port. Okay, so node port the node port default range is the it will vary from 30,000 30,000 to 32678. Okay, 32767, this is the port range. Okay, so if you here in this YAML file, the in this service YAML file, you have specifically given the 33,008 port. Okay, so the service will allocate this port. But if you don't give any port here, then system will allocate one random port between this range. Okay, so with that port, you will be able to access the application uh, inside the pod. Okay, so this is the three ports concept. Okay, so node port and the service port and the target port. Okay, so so to enter into the target port, okay, this service port will enable this will be enabled by the service port. Okay, without service, there is no communication between the node port and the pod, right? Because we have to create a channel between this application to this node port, because we will be the people outside the public can be accessed through this node port only. Okay, so whenever you hit the request URL through with this node port, then you have to cross the service port, and then you have to cross with the target one, and then you will be able to access the application inside the port. Okay, so this is simple. This is the basic definition of the YAML file in the service. Okay, so API version is V1. The kind you can see is the service. Okay, and then metadata. This is the name of the service, and then specification. You mentioned the type, right? So I have also here. Okay, I have my cluster is starting now. Okay, so to make the things faster, I have already started it before the lecture. So this is my GitHub account, okay, and here we can see that there are three types of service, okay. So first we will see the node port, okay. So first one is the deployment, okay. So yesterday we have seen this deployment, right? Now this is the service, okay. So through service we are able to access this pod, okay. So okay, so this is the service. Okay, so API version here is V1. Then there is a kind instead of workload, pod, replace it or deployment. We will be given the service. This metadata defines the name and label section for this service. So this label section is of the service. Okay. Then there is a specification, and here type. In the specification type, if you want to use the node port, then give the text node port here. The syntax should be same, okay. And then here we are defining the port specifically. This port is our service port 80, and the target port is 80. So to make things simpler, we can easily conclude that the service port is nothing but your target port, okay, and target port is on the which your application runs, okay. And here you can see this selector label, okay. So I will explain through this. paint so that you can better understand. Okay, so this is nothing but the our node port. Okay, so then our next service is the uh, load balancer. Okay, so node load balancer is also like the node port only, because just the difference is in the type. Okay, so if you see this service section, okay, so this YAML file is almost same that of the node port, but that just the difference is the load balancer in the type. So if you give the node port in the type, then it will be node port, and if you give the load balancer, then it will be load balancer. Okay. So one important thing need to be clear here. Okay. So I will, okay, okay, okay. So just copy here. Oh, okay. Don't know why it is not. Okay. Paint. Okay. So just copy this. Copy raw file and paste it. Okay, it is taking time to loading. Okay, so this is my service. Okay, take this in here. Okay, so just make the different color over here. Okay, sorry. Here it is. LB. No problem. I will make one thing. Okay, so I will copy from here. Copy. Okay, so this is our service and this is our deployment. Okay, so okay, so if you see, this is the deployment and this is the service. So there should be some similar thing which will be relate these two things. Okay, so what that thing is? That thing is this selector. Okay, so if you see this selector over here, right? So this selector should be matched with the label inside the deployment. Okay, so this is the this is the label over this is the this is the See, this is the match labels, right? Okay, so these labels, so this is the selector. So this is selecting the deployment over here. Okay, so this is the connection. Okay, so how will service know that I need to give access of this Nginx pod? It will match these labels between the service and the deployment. Okay, so selector block will be matching the labels with the deployment. Yeah, deployment. Okay, so these apps should be same. My app LB and here my app LB. By matching these labels, they will be communicate with each other, and uh, this pod can be accessed through this service of the load balancer. So this is very important here that at least one of the labels should match. Okay, so uh, I do may have more than one label. Okay, so in the app colon, my app LB is one label. Then similar, I may also have the type colon front end is the another label. So out of any of the labels, at least one label should be matched access the uh, in order to access the pod through the service concept. Okay, so this is the load balancer. Okay, and one more is there. One more service is there that is called the cluster IP. Okay, so cluster IP is used for the internal communication. Okay, internal communication between the pods. Okay, so just difference is the type. Okay, so instead of load balancer and node port, you can write the cluster IP. So by cluster IP, you won't be able to access the application from outside externally. Okay, so that is it is meant for the internal communication of the pods. Okay, so we will see the one by one these services. Okay, so first we will see the node port. Okay, okay, just check our container. Our cluster is created. Okay, okay, our cluster is created. Just check kubectl get nodes. Yeah, our nodes are ready, and so we can now configure one pod. Okay, in order to access one pod, we will be creating one pod. Okay, so worker node components and pod.yaml. Okay, so I will take this pod.yaml. Okay, so I will create one file here vi pod.yaml. Paste this pod content over here. We have already seen this pod apply hyphen f pod.yaml. Okay, so one pod is created. Let's access, let's check kubectl get pods. Okay, so one out of one pod is running, okay, with the name my application. Okay, so okay, one more thing I want to check. Here is the label of these. Okay, so labels is your web app. Okay, svc.ml. Okay, paste this and save. L apply hyphen f svc.yaml. So This is the command for the creation of the service. So kubectl just to check uh, my service is created not get svc hyphen o wide. Okay. So see our service is created, that is the node port service, right? And we can see that one port is also allocated between the range of 30,000 to 32767, that is 31854. So this is the uh, port is allocated. So check whether we have already given the port. Okay, so we didn't specify the port. Okay, so it has by defaultly taken that port. Hyphen f svc dot yaml. Okay, so again the service is created with the new labels. Okay, so try to access kubectl get svc hyphen override. So the port remains same. Okay, now you can see the selector tab. Earlier there was a label my app np. Now the app equal to web app. We have changed it from the pods file, right? So try to access it now. You are the application. Okay, it will take some time. So both the instances you check, okay, because that pod can be scheduled on any node, right? Okay, okay. So check on the another node. Better to see on which node our pod is get deployed. kubectl get kubectl describe pod my app. Okay, my app. Okay, okay. Describe. Okay, so it is deployed on which node? So it is deployed on this 45189. Okay, 45189 node. 45189. Okay, so check this IP, public IP 318. Okay, so try giving this also apply hyphen app pod.yaml. Okay, so we have created the pod and just check whether it is running or not. Yes, it is running. And then run the service also. kubectl apply hyphen app svc.yaml. Okay, kubectl get svc hyphen o wide. Okay, so service is also running. and it has created the same app, same port number 31854. Okay, so now try to access this AP South one. kubectl get nodes can also deliver. Okay, so it is taking some time to load. 31854. Oh, wide. No. Okay, so here we are also getting the IPs. Okay, so we can check our pod on which node is deployed, right? Cube describe. So on which pod is deployed? 168.45.189, 168.45.189. So this is the IP. Okay, so this is the external public IP. Copy this and try to access with this 318.31854 port. Okay, get svc hyphen o wide. Okay, so see, one load balancer is created. Okay, so in which region it will be created? The one in which your worker nodes are present. Okay, so check in the AP South one. So go to the load balancer. So see, this is the load balancer. It is created just now, May 28th, right? So this is matches with the this one 34855, 34855. Okay, so copy this DNS and access the application. See, you can able to access the Nginx application which is deployed inside the pod. Okay, so this is for the load balancer. Okay, so we have accessed the Nginx application from both the node port as well as the uh, load balancer also. So this concept is very important here to matching the labels. So service allows the external access for the application to be accessed from the externally. Okay, and the cluster IP we have already discussed that cluster IP is used for the uh, internal communication between the pods. Okay, so there you won't be access the application externally. Okay, so I hope this session helps you for the service understanding. So it takes a lot of time because a lot of days are gone and I was not be prepared with this. Sorry for this. Okay, so this is all about the service. Okay, so thank you for your attention, and next we'll see you in the next session. Okay, so till then, goodbye, take care.